There's a statistic that keeps making adults in boardrooms very, very nervous. Gen Z, the generation that was supposed to, keep civilization going, is not having kids. Not at the rates that were expected, not at the rates that are needed, and increasingly, not at all. And before you roll your eyes and say, okay, another lecture about birth rates, this is not that video, because the why is not what anyone is admitting out loud. Let's start with the number. The US fertility rate right now is 1.62 births per woman. You need 2.1 just to keep the population stable. South Korea, one of the most educated, most developed countries on Earth, hit 0.72 last year. Japan is collapsing demographically in real time. And the response from every government, every economist, every concerned op-ed writer is basically the same. Why aren't young people having babies? And then they answer their own question with student debt, housing costs, climate anxiety, which, sure, yes, those things are real, but that framing is missing something, because it treats this like a problem Gen Z has, like something broke inside an entire generation. What if nothing broke? What if Gen Z looked at the full picture and made a completely rational decision? Here's what actually raising a child costs in 2026. The USDA says $310,000 from birth to age 17. That's before college. That's before anything goes wrong. The average cost of childcare alone, just childcare, is up to $20,000 a year depending on where you live. And the median home price has outpaced wage growth so completely that a starter home in most American cities now costs 6 times the median household income. 6 times. In the 1960s, it was 2 to 3 times. Your grandparents didn't have more kids because they were more virtuous or more optimistic. They had more kids because it was affordable to do so. That's it. That's the whole secret. But here's what the news leaves out. A 2021 Pew study found that 44% of adults under 50 without kids said it was unlikely they'd have them. 44%. And when researchers actually asked why, the answers weren't all economic. Yes, money came up, obviously, but so did this. I want to focus on myself first. And the media heard that and said, Gen Z is selfish. What they didn't say is, when did I want to exist as a full human being before becoming responsible for another one become a character flaw? Because here's the thing, previous generations didn't have the option to think about it that hard. Social pressure was the operating system. You graduated, you married, you reproduced. Roughly in that order, roughly on that timeline, or people talked. Gen Z grew up watching that operating system crash. Divorce rates, burnout, the quiet desperation. They saw the full runtime of the program. And some of them said, I'd like to opt out. And then there's the thing nobody wants to say directly. Women notice something. They notice that having children costs them in salary, in career trajectory, in the likelihood that they will still be doing most of the invisible labor, even inside an equal partnership. The motherhood earnings penalty is documented. Women's wages drop when they have kids. Men's often go up. More women in Gen Z are educated than men. For the first time in American history, they did everything right. They got the degree, they got the job, and then they did the math on what adding a child would cost them specifically, not in the abstract, but in their actual career, their actual relationship, their actual body, and some of them decided the math didn't work. Now, and this is important, this doesn't mean Gen Z has given up on kids entirely. The oldest members of this generation are 27. 27. A lot of them want children. They just want to not be drowning first. The gap researchers keep finding isn't between wants kids and doesn't want kids. It's between how many children people say they want and how many they actually end up having. People keep wanting more than the world is currently making possible. That's a different story than Gen Z is selfish. That's a story about a system that has made family formation, something humans have done since the beginning of recorded time, into a luxury purchase. So the next time someone tells you Gen Z gave up on having kids, ask them when exactly childcare became $20,000 a year. Ask them when the starter home disappeared. Ask them why the US is the only wealthy country on Earth with no federal paid parental leave. And then ask them whose fault that actually is. Because it's not a generation that broke. It's a system that stopped making room for the future it keeps claiming to want.